Hi, I'm Eric, and this is Platform. This is the place where ideas are discussed and examined. Before we begin, we'll show you some bio on each of our guests. I'll be interviewing them one at a time, and we'll edit their thoughts into a final program. Please enjoy the lovely elevator music from our house band as we introduce each of our guests. Today, we're going to talk about religion. Can you give me a brief overview of your religious or cosmological perspective?
Briefly. Let's see, I wasn't raised with any particular religion, my dad having been raised as a secular semi-Jew. So I spent a lot of time as a young person studying philosophy, trying to get a hold on overview, a cosmological or religious belief. Never did form one. But I think that the existence of any similarities between any of the different religions and philosophies that are out there, and they are there, that's where I try to pay attention, because that's where it seems like there's some kernel of universal truth.
Do you seek that out?
Continue, always.
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 My cosmological overview, I would say, has been an ongoing process, especially living in Taos for 25 years, and coming from a regular Swedish Lutheran Christian background and being a believer, to coming to a place that is radically different than my earlier beliefs.
I do a lot of meditation and yoga, and so that's really where I center myself, and it's not in a church, and outdoors. You know, I'm a skier, and I hike, and I just love being outdoors, and that's outdoors is my religion, and as Ziggy Marley would say, love is my religion.
There you go.
That's my religion, because I think love is where it's really at, and that's what I think that's what we're lacking.
Yeah.
Not prayer in schools, but love.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, loving everybody and accepting everybody for really who they are.
Yeah.
Not trying to change people.
Yeah.
I never quite understood religion per se, because it just didn't seem to make sense right from the get-go, some of the things that they would tell me.
I don't know about the whole cosmos. I also believe that Christianity is not the only path.
What's another path?
I think that, I guess I would say that God would want everyone to have access, so the path would be whatever was appropriate for that group of people. So, you know, if you live in Vietnam 500 years ago, or however long ago, Christianity was something they probably didn't even know about, so they might have their own way.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at the rules of most religions, they're all pretty similar. So it's really just how to get along.
What is the purpose of religion?
I think it serves the purpose of giving people comfort and feeling safe in their own skin, because there are so many questions that we all have about what's it all about, Alfie? What is the purpose? And am I going to get to heaven?
I think that originally it maybe gave people hope and a higher purpose.
If you want easy explanations and have everything settled, then religion is great. You know, dogma is great. You have the rules, you follow the rules, and you're all set. But if you have an inquiring mind, which I think is why we're here, you want to explore more. And there's the inner exploration and the outer exploration, and one is, I think, the outer exploration is a metaphor for the inner, you know. And so cosmologically, I would say there is purpose to be here that is vast and in many ways unknowable, but it's the seeking that is important, you know. And when you have everything explained for you, you've just shut down the whole purpose for being alive, I think. You know, that's why I've rejected my background of religious dogma, and I understand that it's an offshoot of the spiritual quest, and I look at it as something that's been, you know, co-opted by, you know, political and monarchical maniacs to use as a tool, you know, sometimes a weapon.
I think there are three things: dealing with the pain of existence, dealing with mortality, and then moral structure. Moral ethical structure. Because it in every one that I've ever looked at, it's telling you how to be a reasonable human being in relation to other human beings.
How is religion different from spirituality?
I see religion as more of an organized effort to, I hate the word, but to control people and to have them, it keeps them from thinking and being open-minded to other things. Whereas I feel like spirituality, I'm always learning new things. I'm always open to new things.
I guess I would define religion as man's attempt to make sense of the inexplicable, and spirituality as kind of a inner journey. And so I've always been more interested in the inner journey, and I think that's really the important reason to be here.
Spirituality is a component of religion. Formalized spirituality.
So, do you know people that are spiritual who are not religious?
I know a lot of people who say that. I don't actually know what they mean when they say that.
Is that, you think that maybe they're thinking that they're seekers?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's an acknowledgement that, you know, that there is something, you know, as opposed to an atheist or nihilist or something, that there's an acknowledgement of something greater, and that they are connected with it. That's what I would assume that means.
I think religion, per se, is so structured that it has people, in my mind, seeking the socialization of being together like-minded people until politics gets involved in the religion, which it does quite often, but they're with like-minded people, and I think that's wonderful. But I don't see much true hardcore spirituality being, you know, expressed. And by spirituality, I'm talking about concepts such as love, tenderness, compassion, understanding, things you can't see. You can see the results of it. But religion seems to me to be a structure. It has to do with lots of rules, garments, catechism, where you learn these things and memorize these things, and then go to a building and listen to someone tell you whether you're on the right side of God.
Are religious people happier?
I think they're probably happy.
No, not necessarily. I don't think so. I mean, they could be. I think, again, it all goes down to, you know, you can't say religious people versus regular people. People are people. Some people are happier, some people aren't.
No, I don't think so. I feel like religious people are more more judgmental, and because of that, and I you know, and I shouldn't say that. That's a pretty general statement, but you know, it's if you're busy judging people because you know they don't believe what you believe or they're not thinking what you think, then it causes anger. And then when you're angry, how can you be happy if you're angry all the time? And so, not that there's not people that are religious and loving out there as well, but because I have friends that are religious and they can be very loving, but there's still that feeling like there's almost some judgment going on, and I just don't feel like if you're judging people that you can be that happy.
I had this at the end. We have all of our judge conferences, but this last time we had them all online. And when I was at the end, they kind of roped us into, I didn't realize I was being roped into this, but it was kind of a group therapy session with a bunch of judges from all over the state. It was so weird. But so one of the therapists had us all in there, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? And she asked every one of them, everybody, she said, you all have incredibly stressful jobs, and this has been an incredibly stressful time. What has gotten you through it? And everyone but me, you know, we have a lot of Catholics throughout New Mexico. Everyone but me said God, said my religion, my faith kept me grounded throughout this whole ordeal. And so I don't know about happier, but I do know that there is something that they have that
gives them a person reason for living or doing what they're doing.
I don't know. I think it's partly support, you know, partly the community thing, and then the faith is that, you know, there's a mooring there that grounds people, it seems like.
Yeah.
I think sometimes they probably are, because you know they do a lot of things that are smart, that quote unquote spiritual people do, and that they surrendering to a higher power is very similar to being open to the universe, as it were. And so I could say that their anxiety could be less. You know, if you know, I look at a spiritually advanced person as being very accepting of the day-to-day things that happen, because there's no really good or bad, because you can have a bad thing happen and then next day or next year you find out, oh, it was really good that I fell out of that tree and broke my leg because I didn't get shipped off to war, or, you know, or that I met my wife in the hospital. I mean, all these negatives can be a positive. And I think sometimes religious people, because, you know, it's all up to the Lord, you know, they are more accepting of reality. And that is a real asset. That's a tool that is good to use. It's just that their interpretation of it is usually based on a judgmental person, an invisible man in the sky that's going to punish them. So they're doing it out of fear or obligation more than, you know, an inward journey of how do I perfect myself? How do I get along in this life? Why are we here? What's the purpose? You know, and it's again, it's, you know, religion comes from something, and there are elements that I think have a practical purpose.
What do you see as the future of religion?
You know, I think that overall religion's moving to the center, except for then you have the extremes on the end. I think the extremes get a lot more press because it's more interesting. So I think, you know, people seem to think of like the evangelicals as all being a bunch of crazy people, and probably the ones on TV are. But the just Joe Blow going to work and, you know, most people are just trying to get along. So I think overall it's going to follow that. But it will take 100 years to look back and see.
I have to coin Ziggy, because Ziggy Marley I think he's dead on with love being a religion, and until people can really embrace love in their hearts and truly feel love towards others and towards the planet and the universe and whatever else is out there, I don't see much need for religion except for control and fear.
I think as more people become in tuned or enlightened or within themselves and are honest with themselves, I think they will probably see less of a need for religion. And once, if they will connect with themselves and then truly try to connect with a few other human beings and really get to know each other, they'll find out how connected we truly are, how similar we really are, whether we are different ages, different weights, different colors, but just get into the meat of it, into the inside guts of it. I think they'll find that they don't need to bow their head and say yes to whatever the man on the altar says you should do to get to heaven. I don't see a big future for religion.
I think it's probably going to continue just the way it has been, evolving ideas and social structures. I guess I'm not even sure if more people have abandoned it in, like, maybe the United States. They have. That is a fact, right? Yeah.
If religion is not meshed with scientific reality, there's going to be a problem, and you can't repress one or the other. So I see that, you know, technology is going to keep marching forward, and our understanding is going to keep going forward. And as we do things that would have been seen in earlier ages, like the power of the gods, you know, like literally fusion in a bucket, you know, we're going to change. We're going to change. I think our religion will evolve, and hopefully not be so limiting, but be more open.
On balance, do you think that religion is unifying or divisive?
I think more unifying than divisive, as on a micro level. But on a macro level, clearly the amount of war, the amount of, even in the United States, the, you know, playing out right now with Roe v. Wade, it's an incredibly divisive.
At least for the religion I know most about, which is the Christian, you know, being raised in the West and in that tradition, I would say right now it's just as divisive, or almost as divisive as any era, and that it's being used as a political weapon right now, and by certain politicians who might not even believe the religious doctrine that they supposedly represent, but they're using it to force a cohesion in a certain base of people to get their power. And it's, you know, it's being extremely negative right now, I think, with all the different crises in our, you know, decisions from courts to, you know, to how we can behave and what are our rights. I think right now it's a weapon, and it's not helping.
I don't really have an opinion on that. I think it can be both. I think that the people within the church are all unified, but then the people that are on the outside of the church are not necessarily, you know, and it all depends too on which church and which group of people, and then it comes down to people again. Are you an exclusive group? And if you don't believe exactly what we say, you're all going to go to hell, or are you an everybody's welcome group, and you can kind of join us as you wish and
Be as you are.
be as you are. And there's there's churches both ways.
Yeah, that's true.
I think religion has really caused a lot of wars over the millennium, and a lot of divisiveness. And you know, if you don't believe what I say, then
I'll whack your head
then
off.
yeah, I'll cause a war, or you know, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Or I mean, I just really think that people need to be open-minded and more accepting. And I think religion, organized religions, keep people from being that way.
I think basically religion turns out to be pretty divisive. After the purity of your first blush of going in and everybody embracing you and welcoming you, then all of a sudden, boom, you're in the middle of politics.
What does your God look like?
I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's like the old movies that you saw with, you know, I mean, God really didn't have an image ever. But then there's all the pictures of Jesus, and that's what I was brought up on. So I guess that's what would come to mind because that's what I've seen.
But you don't necessarily believe that that's the way it is, or?
Well, it goes back to what I said about I don't think there's one path. So, someone from somewhere else would probably think of Jesus or Buddha or I don't know who, they have all the different gods and different, they would look like whatever they were brought up to have it look like.
Would God be a male?
Well, yes, because that's what I was brought up with. But again, he doesn't have to be. It's just what is in my brain because of my upbringing.
But my God is everything. It's life. Everything is alive, and that's flowing water, aspen leaves that are fluttering,
Clouds in the sky.
the clouds in the sky moving, changing shape, the rain, the snow. I think there's a spirit in everything, and I think we're all part of this thing, all part of this cosmic organism. And for us to mess with that, I think is the sin. And we need to all go to confession on that sin and take care of Mother Earth.
My God looks like everything that we cannot answer. That is the word for the undescribable, unknowable.
It's everything that you can't describe?
But that I actually do think, and I do think that this is clear from the people the world over and throughout time, that there is some unity to existence between humans, between our world, and that is essentially good. That's what God is.
That. The outside.
The outside?
Yeah. And it's was it Valentine Michael Smith, remember the book Robert Heinlein, Stranger in a Strange Land? One of the things they would say is, thou art God, and I think basically it's like everything is God or nothing's God, and that's why. And Einstein, he'd say things like God doesn't play at dice. He wasn't really talking about a personified old man in the sky. He was more of a deist too. He didn't think of a personal deity that was really engaged with our little goings on of what we're thinking and doing all the time. But he was looking at a bigger picture of the nature. Nature was his God, and I think that's reality. And other people, and quantum mechanics, observer and observed. It's all connected, and you can't separate them. So we're really, we're an interesting development in in evolution of life.
I believe there's a mother and father, goddess and God, and I believe that we've kind of turned our back on the goddess, and we need to really re-embrace her. And maybe that's how religion would come back, is if we re-embrace our goddess sides, our feminine side. I think the patriarchal father side, we're ruled by men. You know what? They haven't done such a great job. And I really think that we've done ourselves and the planet a disservice by focusing so much on money and greed and ruining all our resources and wars. And, I think if we bring the goddess and the loving aspect back to religion, I think that will really make a difference to our planet.
Good, I agree.